As humanity continues to panic over a projected theory in an Al Gore presentation, more and more scientists continue to believe or become skeptical over the anthropogenic climate change. Global warming creates unnecessary alarms in scientific and economic worlds. History books indicate that Earth has elevations of heat before, and that the call for change demanded by politicians will only create trillions of dollars of financial troubles, not a safer atmosphere. Albert Einstein once said, "On principle, this is quite wrong of trying to find a theory on observations alone. It is a theory which decides what is an observation." Global warming theories directly coincide with this quote. Many scientists have only studied one or two aspects of the atmosphere, and has thousands of factors contributing to the Earth's climate. How can one man, millions of dollars of government money, and a few pages of manipulated data paid by paid scientists cause a global panic over a phenomenon that has cycled throughout the course of history? Society, environmental agencies, and government officials falsify and elevate alarm on the damage of the climate change caused by humans worldwide. Mankind clearly affects the world, but not to the extent of the global warming crisis. During the first major week of Earth Week in 1970, many doomsday environmentalists began to raise alarm. Paul Ehrlich, the dominating figure of these environmentalists, creates catastrophic scenarios and initiates fears in the world. Paul says, "The oceans and the Great Lakes are dying. Impending on great famines will be seen on television starting in the 1975. The death rate will quickly increase due to populations and rising prices. Increasingly scarce raw materials will lead to reversal of centuries process in standard living." Ironically, these scientists do not believe in global warming. In fact, at that point in history, they believed that aerosol created global cooling. Aerosols increase the Earth's reflective quality, known as albedo, and potentially cause less solar radiation to reach the Earth. Luckily for the environmentalists, scientists came up with a more believable theory about the Earth's temperature trends. Scientists soon spread the theory of global warming. Worry carries throughout the world, and the ozone's depleting, and too many human-related carbon emissions. Most people have read about the major ice age of the Earth's history that potentially kills the dinosaurs and provides the climate settle for now extinct animals. This occurs during the glaciation around 850 million to 650 million years ago. Most people do not know about the other 5 similar ice ages throughout the history. And here's a picture of the Earth 400 years ago in a ice age. The Earth has a cyclical pattern that involves extreme conditions in both fashions. Thomas Gale Moore, a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, clearly focuses on global warming and environmental issues, regulatory issues, and privatization in former communist countries. He states, "By 7,000 years ago, the Earth was warmer than it is today, perhaps by 4 degrees. During those 400 warmest years, Europe enjoyed mild winters and warm summers. If the storm belt was far north, rainfall may have been 10 to 15% greater now. Compare that to the 1 or 2 degrees rise in temperatures that scientists predict now, and that suddenly does not seem so bad." Moore presents the weather warming periods in history and how they impact the world. Through his research, his present statistics such as greater life expectancy, population growth, and agriculture growth. In fact, agriculture developed from warmer periods. As the Earth warmed with the warning of the Ice Age, the sea level rose as much as 300 feet. Hunters in Europe roamed through the modern Norway. Agriculture developed in the Middle East, Far East, and Americas. The most recent miniature Ice Age ended only 300 to 400 years ago. How do scientists not know that Earth's natural cycle does not cause this current warming in the humanity experience? Even with the natural cycle, other factors play into certain amounts of warming, including humans. Calculations prove that human relation to increasing temperatures accounts for somewhere between 1 to 3%. Carbon emissions do not even produce enough of the greenhouse effect that causes so much alarm. In fact, the greenhouse effect originates mostly from water vapor alone, with a slight impact from methane and other gases. With that in mind, why have scientists not issued H2O as a dangerous emission? Along with the variability in the greenhouse effects, more issues provide a constant change in climate. Variations in solar activity account for 75% of the daily as long as long-term changes in temperature. The albedo of the Earth, based on the cloud cover, changes the Earth's orbit, as volcanic activity and tectonic activity also provide for the relevation to the climate. Even though these numerous changes of increases in temperatures, the Earth creates the counteracts these processes naturally. Plants grasses, and trees draw CO2 straight from the atmosphere and provide an assistance to the CO2 reduction. A large number of the mountains range in the northern hemisphere also act to stir up the atmosphere and spread out the heat around the world as much as possible. Phenomena such as spark and the greater debate, the scientists must work to dispute the facts and assumptions. With a topic as controversial as global warming, a lot of scientists formulate opinions and theories based on observations, studies, and biased reasonings. Sadly, scientists manipulate most of these data to build this theory. Clearly, scientists agree that the Earth warms, and that appears blatantly as easy, observable fact that almost everyone agrees with. But people should not view the controversy as a matter of warming or consistency in temperatures. The debate spawns from how a matter of Earth and its climate warms and cools. This is why the cycle occurs, the magnitude of human activity on the environment. In the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution begins. The use of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gasoline becomes simply evolution of the way that everyday life is lived. Without the use of these important fuels, life's simple task would become backbreaking work. This evolution begins slowly around the 1940s and the start of World War II. These fossil fuels create a huge industries for technology advancements of the war. The United States and other countries create more automobiles and planes than ever before combined. More than just the enemy soldiers notice the impact of the new technology. Scientists claim that the Earth's atmosphere does too, but no data proves this theory. Greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, in a staggering 66%, but the temperatures do not move at all. In fact, most of the temperatures increase that scientists measure at this time occur before 1940. Many environmental scientists try to use computer models to predict the future and climate changes, but these models and simulations use past trends and future assumptions to propose a radical devastation if humanity increases with its carbon trends. They do not factor every influence accurately, and the blame for global warming turns to one cause. They evenly inaccurately predict temperatures for the past 30 years by more than 200%. And here's a picture of a graph that they said they would predict, and then the reality is beneath in the black. With so much uncertainty surrounding the complexity of the atmosphere and its relationship to the human beings at Earth, scientists simply cannot blame warming trends on one cause. In reality, scientists confirm that one simple factor, such as the amount of water vapor in the air, also directly affect the temperature of the Earth. Most computer models do not accurately factor water vapor trends into their simulation either. This greatly affects the outcome and adds to blame the CO2. Many believe that the increase in water vapor and an increase in CO2 and higher temperatures directly relate to each other, but Richard Linson of MIT argues that no physical evidence exists to confirm this. He states the only reason to think that realization exists is that warm air can hold more vapor. That's like saying, I have a 2-liter mug and you have a 1-liter mug, so mine will always hold more. Global warming is not about science, but about politics, according to Galea. For centuries, politics dispute right and wrong of a person's daily life. At one point in time, only scientists studied the Earth's atmosphere changes in the warming trends, but it soon became a political issue. In the 1980s, a very slight information leaks out about the current warming period. The Environmental Protection Agency receives the information and broadcasts it everywhere. In the press release, they claim that the dangerous global warming will happen sometime within this decade, causing sea levels to rise and the coastal cities to go underwater. News stations around the globe spread this information like wildfire. But in 1988, only one newspaper reasonably explained what had happened. They state that the greenhouse effect ends and scientific study has propelled from the scientific journals to the nightly news. Beginning in the 1990s, many political figures began advocating for the global warming terrorists. As time goes on, not many of these figures make a huge difference until Al Gore. Al Gore starts to write a book and in 2006 creates An Inconvenient Truth, a movie, that graphs and other statistics to scare people into further believing that human-related global warming. Few people are fraudulent information that goes into these statistics. The Climate Research Unit email controversy begins in November 2009 with the hacking of the server in the Climate Research Unit by an anonymous attacker. The hacker releases emails, data, and personal opinions of the scientists who manipulate it and send around the world. Al Gore also receives most of the manipulated information and to help produce his books and The Inconvenient Truth. And here's a picture of Al Gore and his Inconvenient Truth. Normally, the disclosure of the fraudulent behavior on the scale would throw its proponents into any position out of their political power. but sadly, none of these manipulations were ever made the front page. Global warming advocates power to prove too powerful for any opposition. As many people learn, personal funds, government agency, and money can influence something more than morals do. Money runs the world. People simply need money to live and even work very hard to earn money for necessities and other wants. But millions of dollars people will go out of their way to get rich quickly. Some people and agencies even have the nerve to scare people into believing political catastrophe and then ask for more funding for more research and reducing the carbon emissions, but reductions present astronomical cost. In fact, the United Nations show as much 80% reduction in emissions by 2050, but will cost around $45 trillion for the U.S. and $552 trillion worldwide. If this occurs, oil companies will fail, millions will lose jobs worldwide, the economies could fail. Governments would regulate, potentially even run out of many new energies. Government officials will funnel money not into their own pockets, but into the choices of the government-funded agencies. Government will control energy in multi-trillion-dollar industry. Spain officials recently tried a new green era for their country. They created 50,000 new green jobs, but in the long run, it only destroyed 110,000 more, and it shocked Spain's economy into high costs for green energy. National economists suffer easily from enormous changes as they prove very sensitive. At this time, humanity cannot risk a global economic downturn and depression for the sake of potential theory on a topic that scientists do not even fully understand. Society must make a difficult choice in consideration for decisions for the action of the man-made global warming, and personal opinion cannot take place. Whether a person believes in man-made global warming or not, they must make a decision. Humanity and governments around the world can potentially end global warming by ridding the earth of the fossil fuels and possibly causing an economic instability and global panic, or they can do nothing, act as efficient as possible, and do the best of their human capabilities to keep this improving. Humans learn to adapt through any situation, including warming in the past. Society cannot flourish through the falsified claims and fraudulent behavior. It affects everyone, and economies cannot handle it. Scientists must learn more about the Earth before it makes any further claims or changes to human lifestyles. For now, people must understand that thousands of other factors play into the stability of the Earth's atmosphere and stop panicking over theories.